The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah, go Cowboys! This is Mick Shots. Streaming live on DallasCowboys.com and the official Dallas Cowboys app. Now, here are Bill Jones, Savannah Humoller, Everson Walls, and Mickey Spagnola.
On a windswept Thursday here in Frisco, Texas, it's time for another edition of Mick Shots inside the SWBC podcast studio. And thank goodness we're indoors because you can hear that wind whistling down the plain outside.
It's windy in here, too, in the hallway. It's cold. What's going on?
It is cold.
Okay, so mine's not working.
There we go.
No.
You hit the mute button, man.
Fight through it.
You hit the mute button.
Fight through it. Here we go. We got football players on a football field, and from the sound of it, it's going to be a real live football practice out there where they got pads on. There's going to be some hitting going on, Everson.
I don't know, Bill. I think they're going to take it inside, buddy.
This is exactly.
They got dummies blowing across the field. I mean, it's 40 miles per hour out there. They got practice dummies rolling around out there. It's tough.
It's like,
Brian Shottenheimer, he just did the press conference. He said today's practice, since they're in pads, he said it will be up-tempo, juicy, energetic. There will be running and there will be hitting.
Juicy.
There you go.
He said juicy.
He said juicy.
That's
right.
a good one. That sounds really,
So
really
even if they're out there in the
tantalizing.
wind, I expect nothing less.
that's exactly
He
right.
added that if we're going to start outside and see where it goes, I got a feeling it's going right inside once they get to team.
Yeah, I think so.
They're saying it wind gusts up to 40 miles an hour
Yeah,
out
who
there.
wants
Well,
to
I
do
believe
that?
you.
We won't have that on Sunday night.
That's what
right.
he also
We are
pointed
playing
out.
indoors.
He goes, and we have a nice dome to play
Yes,
in.
thank you.
So there's no sense going out there and rooting an offensive practice. with
So
the wind
this is
blowing
the
like that.
first
Padded
practice since
Probably since
the last time they played Philadelphia.
no, who was before? So
Carolina was before Thanksgiving.
and then the week before that,
I can't get rid of us.
Giants.
So
they
it's been
might
a
have
few
got
weeks.
one in on the Giants, maybe because he knew
They
he
didn't
had
need
to,
one for Carolina?
He had to let up for Carolina. No, because then you
I
had
know,
the short week, right? So
Same
yeah,
thing.
it's
Same thing.
been a while.
Same thing.
Virtually a month.
Yeah.
Probably. And he's only got 2 more left after today. I
They
think
only get a certain number each year.
and you can't save them all to the end either, or at least that's the way it used to be. Like you couldn't save 4 for the last 4 weeks. There was a cutoff date where you had to use up all.
That's
the
all
padded
due to the
practice.
collective
Interesting.
bargaining agreement.
Yes.
I've never watched us. I'm watching us right now.
What are you watching?
I'm watching us.
Oh.
How's it look?
I've never
He's
done
Did
watching
you
it
realize we
live.
were streamed?
I was trying to find some stats, and this keeps popping up. I can't get rid of it, so I'm like, might as well start looking at
You
it.
just realized that they actually have video of us?
Right. Well,
He can't see. We
They
can see.
us.
all
You gotta
the
look
time,
over
even
your
when
shoulder.
Bill's gone, she sits there, and I got to
So
be.
look
my
over
back
your
is-
shoulder, you
Y'all
can
looking
see.
at my. I have the edge up in the back all the time now because people are looking at the back of my head.
But we did have a Brian Shottenheimer press conference today. We had a Dan Quinn one yesterday. And,
Yeah.
of course, Mike McCarthy had the emergency appendectomy that was successful yesterday afternoon. And understand he returned home this morning and is working from the house today, expected to return to the Star tomorrow.
I expected him to be here today.
Me too.
I thought he'd be up in a window somewhere, sitting watching from afar.
I wouldn't be surprised if they said, it was mid to late afternoon, I guess, before he had the surgery yesterday.
Yeah.
And I think they probably said, what's he going to do if you release him from the hospital tonight?
Yeah.
What do you
You're
think he was
probably
gonna do?
right, yeah.
He was going to head to the Star.
Straight up.
Probably.
Yeah. If he's
I
going to
would
get
too. I would too.
he's gonna
It
get
feel
a
like
good night's
unfinished
sleep.
business. I come to work, and the next thing you know, I'm in the hospital. That's not the way you want to.
So
end
did
it.
everybody check their appendix today? We all.
I don't have one, so
Yeah, he's gone. Bill already used his.
Oh, so you have something in common with Schottenheimer and
and Schottenheimer
Mike.
told the story in this press conference, which we taped the Mike McCarthy show. It features Brian Schottenheimer this week. Now we didn't
right.
we didn't talk about his appendix on the show, but prior to the show, he's told the story that he did at the press conference, which was at age 14. He was doubled over in pain after a Cleveland Browns playoff loss. Maybe the Ernest Biner. I don't know if that was
the 87. He said it was the fumble. It was the fumble game.
Yeah, that was it.
And
why do you always name games after people's mistakes? You're killing me with that.
The fumble game.
The Leon game.
We got the Emerson Walls game.
And everybody knows what you're talking about, too.
The Emmitt Smith game.
The Emmitt Smith game. Okay, here we
go. But he was doubled over in pain, and his parents thought when they came home, they thought he was just, reacting to the loss. Come on, tell them.
At 14 years old?
Yeah.
Wow.
That doesn't usually happen.
No.
Yeah. So
that's crazy.
So he said his dad has to come home from a loss like that and then head right to the hospital to deal with doctors and nurses.
Like, come on, man. The Browns lost. Do I have to be here?
Well, he had time on his hand. The season was over.
Yeah,
so.
True.
All right. So what else did you get out of the Brian Schottenheimer press conference today?
Well, it sounded like that he is 100% optimistic or sure that McCarthy will be ready for the game on Sunday. He said everything that they've done so far is full steam ahead. They haven't been missing anything. He said Mike's been involved still with everything from afar. They'll Zoom probably today. He said that, the interesting thing, though, is he okay to stand on the sideline for 3 hours? Mm-hmm. I mean, you can call plays from the coach's box, by the way, and you're not close to the action either in case somebody runs into you and they don't have Big Dom standing there to protect them, right? So, but other than that.
Yeah, that's right, because he's susceptible to injury.
I mean,
on the sideline.
That's true.
They do.
I forgot about that.
I mean, even though it's a scope, they do go into you. Right? And so, but yeah, he said.
And he did turn 60 earlier this month,
right.
Last month. And, at the age of 60, it's harder to stand for 3 hours.
At any time. Surgery or not.
Yeah, even if you haven't had surgery,
Your
right?
feet start hurting, right?
He'll probably be there, but you never know how people's recoveries are going to go. So, I mean, he could be zooming in and he might be still in a little bit of pain or, hunched over on the sideline on Sunday.
Right.
And it takes a little while to recover from the anesthesia, too. It doesn't just, you wake up and it's like, okay, but it's still kind of a little cloudy on you. I thought the funny thing was, and they asked him what kind of spirits he had. Did you talk to him? And he goes, oh, yeah. He goes, and you can't have a conversation with Mike. 2 things will come up, football and Pittsburgh.
That's where he's from, right?
Yeah. So it seems like, okay, go, got to, as Savannah pointed out, padded practice, let's go. Get going. The tempo should be good. The spirits should be good.
Last question, just on that. Is it considered major surgery?
It's I assume, and we haven't heard any details, I assume it was arthroscopic surgery.
Okay.
But it's still,
no.
It's not major to you, right? But the person that's getting the scope, it's major, right? Anytime they put you out, They
talked about guys that, like with the kidney donation stuff, they said some guys went to work the next day after donating. And that's crazy.
Not the person that got it.
No, the person that received it.
The person
guy. The person that
gave it.
Yeah. They said, I was like, it's no way I could have done that. But guys have gone, and now they only sat down at the desk. But I mean, still, that's tough, man. Some people, he wasn't a football player either. He was just a guy that went right back to work, and that's crazy. So that's why. And I saw what happened with Parcells. I don't know how he felt. I don't recall, how he talked on the sidelines or anything, but he seemed to be fine. Surgery that morning, game that night.
Parcells.
On his appendectomy.
That's wild.
On his appendectomy, back in 1990.
And the hard part is, and I don't know if Mike's had surgeries before, the first time they start explaining to you the anesthesia,
man.
it's like, oh, This is serious.
Right. You're going under.
Yes.
Yeah, like hey, you may not come back.
And you got no say.
It's not
in
up
it, right?
to you, right?
It's
right.
like flying an airplane.
Like, okay,
I
count
gotta
down from
trust
10.
somebody.
Okay,
right?
like count down from 10. Okay, 10, 9.
Yeah.
You're done.
And then you're just hoping you wake up.
Countdown for us.
Right, countdowns for no reason at all.
And and you probably went through it. It's very sobering to me to think, these guys go have surgeries all the time to fix something, and we act like no big deal, right? But when it's to you,
I was looking at Burrows on the sidelines, and I was just thinking, like, just another surgery the person has to go through, because he had his arm in a sling when I was watching the game, and that's exactly what came to my mind. It's like, this guy had to have surgery, and you start thinking about the surgery that you had, like, it's not easy.
It's the old.
It's sobering.
Very sobering, right?
So while we're on surgeries, can we move to injuries?
Sure. Yes.
Okay,
Perfect.
great.
Inform us.
Do we want to do Philly's injury report from yesterday?
Yeah, because the
first?
Cowboys wasn't much.
Great. So some notable ones for Philly's practice yesterday. Fletcher Cox, he was limited in practice.
Age.
Dallas Goedert, with a forearm injury, had full participation.
So he
in
had been
practice
on
yesterday.
injured reserve, and so they're somewhat surprised how quickly he's come. Did he get hurt in the Cowboys game?
Yes, we talked about that yesterday,
Yeah.
and it was Marquise Bell tackled him, and he stiff arm.
Zach Cunningham, the linebacker, hamstring injury. He was limited in their practice yesterday, and it was reported it was just a walkthrough.
Right.
But still, I think the notable one is Dallas.
Yeah.
For
And-
sure.
And Zach Cunningham, too. He
Cunningham.
missed last week's game, and they
He's missed
released
the last two,
Christian
right?
Ellis, and so Shaq Leonard get an opportunity right off the bat.
They didn't mess around, did they?
Come in right after his butt, too. They'll come
you
right
go.
at him, see if he's ready. Might as well.
See, that's why in hockey they never reveal the injury, right? Upper or lower body.
That's all they say.
That's all they say. That's it. But in football, it's like, okay, he's got a hand. Well, we'll find out about that hand in the pile.
So that's it on injuries? I love it how Savannah saves us from going down rabbit holes.
Yeah.
You see how she-
You're welcome.
You see how she
Back to football.
She reeled us in. That was pretty good.
There's a few other guys. Jack Stoll, tight end. He was limited. Grant Calcaterra.
Calcaterra, former
Yes,
Oklahoma
Calcaterra.
Sooner
Thank
and a
you for
SMU
saving me there.
Mustang.
He was full in practice, and then we had Julio Jones, wide receiver, did not participate in Darius Slay.
Has he played?
Yes, he has.
Yeah.
And he's done.
He played 10 snaps last week,
Okay.
and he
Did he get a
caught.
shot?
Yeah, he's had a few catches.
Okay, good.
Darius Slay, he was on NIR rest.
Yeah, that's a veteran rest day.
Oh, rest day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they've been-
And the Cowboys
Phillies.
basically
NIR is not injury related rest.
and the Cowboys basically were good, except for having put McEwen on IR to make room for Peyton Hendershot, who I think they listed full, didn't they?
They did list as full for Peyton Hendershot yesterday. Now, the one that I was surprised by yesterday was Rico Dowdle. He was limited. So I chatted with him in the locker room yesterday a little bit, and he told me he was limited. And
Is he okay?
Well, he said he was dealing with a little bit of the ankle injury still. So he just said that he didn't do too much yesterday. I don't know what their expectations are for today for him, though.
So he's been limited, I think, this is like 3 games in a row. He's played.
Yeah.
So
Everson-
they're just trying to get him to the game.
What percentage of the roster do you think is limited in some way at this point in the season?
90%.
It's just a
This
question
time
of
of
whether
year, right.
it's just you make that injury report if you miss some time in practice, basically.
That's when the coach asks you, are you hurt or are you injured?
Uh-huh.
That's when you got
That's
to make a
right.
decision.
There's so many injuries, quote unquote injuries that players are dealing with that never make an injury report.
Fractured ankle.
Just go ask hockey players. I would think after the first week of the season, there's always something that hurts. You just got to play through it.
It's like playing It's like playing football on the basketball court with ice.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing soft to land on. Everything is hard.
Man, when we were playing adult hockey, whatever equipment they gave me, I put it on.
Savannah, get ready to save us again. He's about to go down another
well, if we
rabbit
go down
hole.
the hockey rabbit hole, I could go down that rabbit hole.
She loves hockey. Yeah,
I love
So
hockey.
I'll save us from the hockey rabbit hole, and we'll be back with more Mick Shots in a moment.
That's fun.
I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
And they snap it to Prescott, who looks right. It's not there. He escapes left. He'll run for a first down.
Just like football, when it comes to crypto, it's important to have a team you can trust. With blockchain.com, I know I'm in good hands. Since 2011, they've been trusted by millions around the world to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrency.
Prescott's going to run this himself. Run it up the middle, and he scores.
Whether you're new to crypto or an active trader, they've got you covered. What are you waiting for? Get started at blockchain.com.
You know that sound anywhere. It's the crisp crunch of that first nacho chip. With its perfect cheese to sour cream ratio sitting atop a layer of delicious beans, it's a sip away from perfection. That's what we're looking for. Add a delicious, refreshing Pepsi and we've achieved absolute nacho nirvana. Because while you can pile those nachos high with every spicy, cheesy, savory topping, there's no topping a cool Pepsi finish. Nachos, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
The Medal of Honor is our country's highest military award for valor in combat. More than 40 million individuals have served in the armed forces since the Civil War. Fewer than 4,000 have received the Medal of Honor. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a place to preserve these legacies and inspire America. It's being built right next door to the Dallas Cowboys in Texas. Help us honor our country's greatest heroes. Learn more and get involved at mohmuseum.org.
Cowboys football and Miller Lite. What a pairing. Can cracks at kickoff. Tailgates going way past postgame. Sunday night overtimes followed by Monday morning swagger. Brisket in the smoker. Miller Lite in the cooler. America's team playing America's greatest sport. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys football tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. 2023 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Back to Mick Shots.
K-Post Roofing and Waterproofing, the official roofer of the Dallas Cowboys.
All right, we continue on Mick Shots, and I wish we would have gone down that hockey rabbit hole because we got a great story from Mickey there about his charity challenge on ice days with the ticket playing hockey against a women's hockey team that he doesn't want to tell us about.
They hit him in his cherries for charity.
I was actually thinking, that was pretty good idea on their part. They knew where the soft part was.
She didn't get a penalty.
Yeah, what happened to hooking,
Oh, man.
Okay, Mickey, you've got a full legal pad there.
And I thought I enjoyed Schottenheimer's answer on when he was asked about CeeDee and he and Dak hooking up on the deep ball. And I thought Everson can jump in on this because I've heard him say this before. He said, number one, it starts with the release. We talk about jumping out of your shoes, meaning you got to get off the line of scrimmage, right? And that's what you don't want as a cornerback.
Right. Well, most cornerbacks, depending on the defense, they'll give you a particular side, but then they'll just make it rough on you to get off. You see what I'm saying?
Like direct you the way they
want you to go based on what the defense is. And our lesser of the evils with the flex was always give up the outside short route, nothing inside. So most of the time we were shading the inside shoulder and making sure that whatever they did, you do not get inside. That was our number one thing. The first drill that Gene Stallings put us through was backpedaling on a wide receiver inside shoulder. That first drill, and he cursed me out on that first drill.
You didn't get it done?
I did it right.
Okay.
The guy ran another route. He ran out and up. Like, we're not practicing on that, coach. We're practicing on out routes, not out and up. This guy was on his own. But I think Gene did that to me just to somebody's got to make an example.
So what he was pointing out is that CeeDee does a good job of holding the red line. So they've got that red line out there, and they don't want you, I'm guessing, the receiver inside the red line, because then you don't give the quarterback anywhere to throw the ball.
Over the shoulder,
right?
exactly. Over the outside shoulder. That's exactly right. And away from the safety.
Right.
You want to make sure and keep it away from the safety if you can. Even if you have it too deep, if he gets off well, you can still hit it in the hole. You can still hit it in the little hole right there. So you can still do it, even if there is a cover 2, he can still make it in that little slot.
Well, that leads me into little research I did last night on CeeDee Lamb. 90 catches for 1,182 yards so far. And I'm going, he's still got 5 games to play.
That's crazy.
It's a lot.
That's crazy.
So I factored it out over 17 games now. He's on pace for 127 catches. Now, I don't know that he'll continue on that pace, but Michael Irvin's single-season franchise record is 111 that he set in 1995.
That's going down.
Witten had 110 in 2012. And then CeeDee last year, I don't even know if we realize this. He's third now with 107, but he's on pace for 127 catches.
And we did it last month, a few weeks ago. We did the math from that point last year to that point this year.
Right.
And he was right around 125, 130 catches over his last 17 games, basically.
Yeah.
And so now we're looking at it in a real season, 17 games, he's on that pace, 127 receptions.
And then the pace for single season yards receiving. So he's got 1,182 right now. He's on pace for 1,674. Michael Irvin's record single season.
Michael's balling.
1995 was both receptions and yards. Michael had 1,603 yards. And the funny thing, well, not
and that
the
was
funny
in 16
thing,
games.
Yeah, 16 games. And the amazing thing is the top 3 receiving yards in Cowboy history. It's all Michael Irvin. He had 1991, 1523, and that would have been his first full season after tearing his ACL. He came back in 90, but he missed the first half of the season before he got back. And then in 1992, he had 1,396 yards. So no other receivers, including the 2 that are in the Hall of Fame, and come close to what Michael had.
That lets you know if you bark loud enough,
yeah,
you will get
somebody's going to throw you the ball.
You will get fed.
Well, and it's also it was a different game in the 90s
sure.
compared to the 70s and early 80s.
Actually,
when
even
Drew
the
played.
80s, too.
Right.
With Drew and Tony Hill.
Right.
He'll break it.
It's going down.
It's definitely going down. It's CeeDee. He knows what he's doing out there.
So, and I thought it was interesting. Somebody finally asked about Schottenheimer about the deep ball, but I like the jumping out of your shoes at the start.
Well, if you see how he does it, there's that hesitation. You know, he almost, when he does a little hop, right before he makes his move, he's trying to see exactly where that DB is gonna feign. You see what I'm saying? If he hops, then he makes the DB commit first.
I never thought of that. Yeah,
and if the DB commits first, then he can pick a way to go.
So now he can know where to go.
The way I see him doing his release now, go back to Hard Knocks. And when Amari Cooper was showing him how to get off the line of scrimmage. Did you remember that?
Yes.
That's exactly what he's doing right now. Amari said, pick a shoulder. Because CeeDee's thing was he kept going straight at the DB and then making his move.
Trying to fight him.
Well,
go into him.
He gave too much of himself. You gave him your entire body. Amari told him, you pick a shoulder, and when you pick that shoulder, that's when you start working the defensive back, and that's exactly what he's doing. He was open last week, but Dak had already thrown the ball on a fade. He was wide open, and what he did was he attacked the DB's outside shoulder, and the DB didn't react, and he kept moving. So if the DB reacts, he might come back inside, you see. So it just depends on what the defensive back does and what the defense is. If he knows he's man-to-man with no help, then CeeDee can release any way he wants. No one's going to give the DB help. All he has to do is get on top of him and get the leverage.
And think about CeeDee. He's done this ever since he was in, probably in youth football
Pop
in
Warner.
Houston. Yeah. That's right. I mean, I was just looking back. When he was in high school, He had his senior year in high school. He had 98 catches for 2,032 yards and 33 touchdowns.
Catches.
98 catches.
Wow.
So it would have been. They
1,000.
lost in the state semifinals, so they were probably a 14 or 15 game season.
Where is he from again?
Houston. He's originally from New Orleans, but they moved to Houston, and it's Foster High School, Richmond, Texas.
Okay.
It's in the Houston area.
Moved when at Katrina.
Yeah,
And it was him, the linebacker from Oklahoma.
Murray.
Yes, and
Kenneth
I think it was Delpit.
Okay, Grant Delpit, safety at LSU.
All those
with the
guys
Browns.
moved together, and they were all. I read this because I was looking at Murray.
Yeah.
They were all on the same like Pop Warner team in Houston, that
Wow.
undefeated. Right? No one could beat them.
So then carry it forward into college for CeeDee. Okay, he had Baker Mayfield throwing to him his first year. 46 catches, only 807 yards. It was only a school freshman record, 7 touchdowns.
Wow.
Then he had Kyler Murray throwing to him his second year, and he had 65 catches, 1,158 yards, and 11 touchdowns. And then he had Jalen Hurts throwing to him his third year, and it was 62 catches, 1,327 yards, 14 touchdowns. He'd been doing this forever. Yeah, so none of this should come as a surprise.
Right, and I'm sure for him, he was always thinking, well, everybody's like, well, can you do more? And he goes, oh, yeah, I can do more.
Well, and hey, how about along those lines, I mentioned Shottenheimer filled in for McCarthy on the coaches show today, and so we were talking about CeeDee. I just asked him how fun is it putting a game plan together each week for CeeDee Lamb. And
Just for CeeDee?
Yeah, well, yeah.
That's what CeeDee
That's basically
thinks.
what it
That
is.
attributes to all the catches.
Right,
Yeah.
that's right. And so Schottenheimer brought it up himself. He said, okay, everybody knows that he came to us earlier in the season, and, he wanted the ball. And the beautiful thing about CeeDee is that you go out on that practice field, and, he wants the ball, and he does something about getting the ball, and the intention with which he goes about everything that he does is remarkable.
And even with what he does, even with how he came out and what we expected from him, that just lets you know how tough this game is, because he still had to make some serious adjustments. Was it last year? He was, really wasn't as aggressive as we wanted him to be early in the season. And then the second half of the season, he showed us the CeeDee that we see now.
Yeah.
And even with that, changing offensive coordinator, and he feels like he's getting shafted. And he's like, nah, I want to continue what I was doing the second half of last year. I'm sure that's what was on his mind.
And I thought Schottenheimer, they was talking about the passing game, and they asked him something about the last Philadelphia game, the game that Dak had. And Schottenheimer basically said, well, first open receiver gets the ball. He goes, it's not planned out that's going there, right? First open receiver gets the ball. And that's when he talked about watch Dak's feet, because ideally he said you want the quarterback to hit his back foot, and he can see the first guy and he can see the second guy. And if it's not open, then he said watch his feet, because he's probably going to extend the play, and then it's scramble drill, right? Who can get open? But you're not sitting there 1, 2, 3, 4, right? First 2, and then after that, let's go.
Chris Collinsworth pointed that out during one of the early games, talked about his footwork, and almost spoke of it the same way you did, and it was illustrated on one of the Monday Night Football games, or Sunday Night Football games.
So we're becoming offensive experts here.
Love it.
And we get Everson to qualify what we're thinking, or correct us, one of the two.
I tell you what, I'm qualifying right now. You were talking about these DBs. Al Harris needs to get some love.
Did you hear Quinn yesterday?
No, I did not.
Oh, he went on and on about Al Harris.
Okay, excellent. Because I did an interview this morning with Saroy, with Mike, and he brought up Al's name. And I was remiss, and like, man, I should have brought up his name. I never have brought up his name, even on this podcast, about what a great job he's doing. Our interception totals, I used to fuss all the time about us not getting picks. It just used to get on my nerves, and now all of a sudden here this guy comes, and we are on the rise.
Especially when one guy's got 8.
Yeah. Well, then, last year you got one with 11.
8 with 5 to go now.
Yeah, and then that's another thing.
Can he get 4?
Can he? Can he? He should have had 9.
I know, because he had those
had
2.
He was so close.
I mean,
That
come
was
on.
close.
So
that may have done it right there. That may doom him for, he might be stuck at 11 with me and Trayvon.
So I was just trying to get the stuff accurate when he was talking about
Al Harris
yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to go for accuracy now?
Yes, absolutely.
We never let that hold up the show.
Oh, gosh.
Sorry, we got a little pause here. We're going to try to, for once, be accurate.
When I'm doing a quote.
There you go, sir.
And he basically was asked. He brought up Al Harris on his own and the work he's done with the young. And think about it with Diggs. Okay, now you got Deron Bland, a 5th rounder.
That's not a coincidence.
Jordan Lewis, making plays. And if you think about it, go back a couple of years ago. Probably the best seasons Anthony Brown had, too, after Al Harris got here.
Yeah.
He said, if I was playing that position, I'm calling Al Harris and say, teach me. And he goes in, what better guy to teach you that has been coaching now in the NFL? This is his 10th year and has 2 Pro Bowls, 2 All-Pro seasons. So he's been through it all.
He has.
All you got to do is listen.
On championship teams, too, right?
And he went on and on about how much he's meant to this defense.
Well, my daughter thinks he's cute, so I thought I'd bring that up.
He's fun to talk to. I know that.
Where'd he go to college?
Oh, Kingsville.
Yep, Texas A&M Kingsville. Same as
Wow.
Darryl Green.
Kingsville.
Right, yeah.
Of course,
Never
Darryl Green,
thought
it was
about that.
Texas A&I back then.
Yeah.
And he played 15 years in the league?
Dang.
And he was a 6th-round draft pick in 1997.
So you can find cornerbacks on every
right.
corner.
Any corner. That's what Gil Brandt says, yes. Any gas station. Thank you, racist Gil. We appreciate your love. Rest in peace, my man.
It's like Parcells would say in the middle of the season when somebody says, well, it looks like you need another running back or whatever. And he goes, yeah. And you don't just go down to the Texaco and get one.
That's what Gil said.
Oh,
You do.
gosh.
All right, back with more Mick Shots and
Yes,
more
sir.
Emerson Shots in just a moment.
The Medal of Honor is our country's highest military award for valor in combat. More than 40 million individuals have served in the armed forces since the Civil War. Fewer than 4,000 have received the Medal of Honor. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a place to preserve these legacies and inspire America. It's being built right next door to the Dallas Cowboys in Texas. Help us honor our country's greatest heroes. Learn more and get involved at mohmuseum.org.
Cowboys football and Miller Lite. What a pairing. Can cracks at kickoff. Tailgates going way past postgame. Sunday night overtimes followed by Monday morning swagger. Brisket in the smoker. Miller Lite in the cooler. America's team playing America's greatest sport. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys football tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. 2023 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
And they snap it to Prescott, who looks right. It's not there. He escapes left. He'll run for a first down.
Just like football, when it comes to crypto, it's important to have a team you can trust. With blockchain.com, I know I'm in good hands. Since 2011, they've been trusted by millions around the world to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrency.
Prescott's going to run this himself. Run it up the middle, and he scores.
Whether you're new to crypto or an active trader, they've got you covered. What are you waiting for? Get started at blockchain.com.
You know that sound anywhere. It's the crisp crunch of that first nacho chip. With its perfect cheese to sour cream ratio sitting atop a layer of delicious beans, it's a sip away from perfection. That's what we're looking for. Add a delicious, refreshing Pepsi and we've achieved absolute nacho nirvana. Because while you can pile those nachos high with every spicy, cheesy, savory topping, there's no topping a cool Pepsi finish. Nachos, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
Back to Mick Shots.
The 2024 NFL Pro Bowl games are taking over Orlando, and the roster is up to you. Cast your ballot for the 2024 Pro Bowl games, vote, and send your favorite Cowboys players to compete in the ultimate AFC versus NFC showdown this February. Vote now at probowl.com/vote.
Apparently, the Cowboy fan is out there voting. They've got like 6 guys leading.
I didn't see the early voting.
It just came out yesterday.
So I have a couple of them.
Okay, good.
For wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb is second right now. Tyreek Hill is number 1.
Okay, we'll give him that.
We could live with that.
For cornerback, number 1, Deron Bland.
Yeah.
There you go.
Shout out Al Harris, because we were just talking about that. Let's see. For quarterback, Dak Prescott, number 3.
Who's 1 and 2?
Tua is number 1. C.J. Stroud, number 2.
Oh, and Brock Purdy's not listed?
Outside linebacker is number 1, T.J. Watt, and number 2, Micah Parsons. So that's the 4 I have.
Unacceptable.
They have Dak behind C.J.
Yeah,
crazy.
Correct.
Tua and CJ.
Yeah.
Brock is number 6 on that list. So there's 10 players for each category.
Also, I think I read where Zach Martin was leading at guard, and there was 6 of them that were the head of their position, but Zach Martin was listed. And Aubrey, the kicker.
Who's made how many in a row now?
Aubrey's
26.
He wasn't listed on
26
there?
in a row.
Aubrey wasn't on there?
No.
I don't have the rest of the
It was on
list.
what I read this morning.
This is the voting leaders.
By the way,
last night.
there was much talk in the preseason and off-season about the Cowboys kicking situation, and this name was brought up quite a bit. That why don't they go sign this guy? Well, this guy just retired, Robbie Gould.
Oh, he did.
He did retire. Yes, this morning or yesterday.
And no one really signed him, did they?
No,
this year?
no, he wasn't picked up. But
Well, one of the reasons
you
was
got to be able to kick off.
You got to kick off. Which, by the way, I was just wondering about this, and I finally found the stat. Aubrey has 79 kickoffs. 76 of them are touchbacks. There's so few. When I was talking to him, he knew the games that there was a return in, and it was only 3 of them. So think about this. He had 39 extra points, 36 for 39, 26 field goals, and 79 kickoffs. So he's kicked the ball 144 times with 5 games to go, which is a lot.
Yeah.
And I was asking him, I said, I did it very delicately. They just want to come out. You got a tired leg? You know, I didn't say that. I said, but you have to be careful. You've kicked a lot, not to mention however many games he played in the USFL. I think it was 10 regular season and maybe 2 playoffs. And he says, well, I don't practice kickoffs anymore during the week. And it sounded like Fossil was suggesting they cut back on just how much he practices because they have to.
That's a lot of
They
kids.
got to keep an eye on it, right?
We're scoring a lot of points.
Right? Well, that's what happens. So you got to kick extra points and you got to kick off, right? So anyway, we brought him up, but yeah.
I've got the complete list on the Pro Bowl. Brandon Aubrey is number 1 amongst kickers in the Pro Bowl
Let's
voting.
go.
So
Good stuff.
There
Good
you go.
stuff.
And by the way, Tyron is 3rd amongst tackles behind Trent Williams and Lane Johnson. And guards, you mentioned Zach Martin, and I just lost the list. And why wouldn't they put the tackles next to the guards? I mean, what kind of list is a guard?
Probably
Zach is number
alphabetical.
1. Tyler Smith is number 4. That's what I wanted to find out. Tyler is number 4.
And this is just fan voting at this point.
Fan voting. So technically, Zach Martin and Tyler Smith, both in the top 4, would both be starting guards on the Pro Bowl team.
And think about it. The Cowboys.
Biotis?
Let's find where they put center on this list.
Probably high if it's alphabetical.
Kelsey's number 1, and Biotis is number 6 on the list.
Well, he was high enough last year to be invited as a replacement or alternate.
Yep.
So you think you get a lot more replacements because it's in Orlando?
And the fact they don't play anymore, do they?
It's going to be fewer replacements.
Right. There's fewer replacements now, and so there won't be as many people making the Pro Bowl team now that they don't play a game.
And it's less expensive to bring your family with you instead of going to Hawaii, right?
Yeah, I love Hawaii.
You would hope they don't play in that game. Let's just be honest with you.
Well, but they can get the recognition, right?
We don't want them to play in the game.
Yeah. Well, we understand, Chris.
I know. I'm just saying. Let's move on.
We got it. Playing in the game doesn't mean anything, especially when it comes to if people have bonuses, right?
You know why Chris was saying that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't.
Because we want to play in a game in Las Vegas. It's called the Super Bowl.
Nice. Good job.
Well, you know what? That was the answer I got from DeMarcus Lawrence yesterday when he got done with his Man of the Year nomination. Each team nominates one guy. I said something to him. We were talking about playing the run. I said, and that stuff usually never stands out. I said, but it should for the Pro Bowl voting. And he goes, I don't worry about that. I've been to it. He goes, the only bowl I'm worrying about is the Super Bowl.
There we go.
But we talked about playing the run, and he basically pointed out, he goes, I play real football. I love it. He's so just a few words, right? But you got to play the run. And he talked about how it's improved his game by them moving him around in different spots. So now they can't focus on, this is all, he said he can focus on different things, because if you're playing always left defensive end, your toolbox is how do I win here?
Right.
But when they put you in the middle or the other side, you got to change things up.
Why didn't teams think of this before?
They didn't really do it, did they?
But Parcells was set in that 3-4 defense. You line up, and it's a certain body type and so forth that you're lining up.
has to be over here.
Charles Haley never moved from the left side.
The flex.
Yeah,
the
flex.
Yeah.
Tall was always right next to me.
Charles was on the left, and Tony Tolbert was on the right. They never changed it.
Because football has changed so much in the short passing game, and that's why Marquise Bell can play linebacker.
Well, it seems like everyone seem to be so impressed with someone that can play left and right side. And we talked about it last year. I didn't think it was a big deal. One tackle versus the other offensive tackle. Right? That was a big deal for us last year, having Tyron play both sides. And it was a little bit difficult for him. But
I'm talking like defensively. You just line up their defensive guys where they can come from you don't know where they're going to come from.
But for some reason, they don't think that they can play both sides.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. I mean, even with cornerbacks, that was kind of taboo. Then guys start doing it. And, next thing you know, what's the big deal? I just never thought that it should make a difference.
Because there was always a big deal about, is he going to follow some wide receiver? And it's like, we don't follow. We play sides. I remember that, right?
But this is just like, for instance, the hybrid linebackers where Marquise Bell at 215, 220 pounds can play linebacker every snap on defense, basically.
Now, that's different.
Yeah.
That is something that's different from even 5 years ago.
I remember it was one of my favorite guys in the draft was a kid from Florida State, Telvin Smith, who, I just love watching his tape from Florida State, which was 2014, whatever. He wound up being a fifth-round draft pick, but he played at Jacksonville and played well. I think he may have made the Pro Bowl one year and had some off-the-field stuff. But he was 215 pounds, basically. And so you could not draft him even in the third round because he's just too small to play inside linebacker in this league, whatever. But he's made for this brand of football.
Never too small anymore, right, Cavante Turpin? Oh, by the way, I read into Rocket Ishmael before the press conference, right? And we started talking about returns and how special teams seems to, especially returns, has been.
And next thing you know, 2 hours later.
Yeah, you're right.
That's the way you talk to him.
I had to stop because Schottenheimer came in, and I go, I got to go.
Yeah, he's probably still talking.
But he said, I was on to Turpin long time ago. He said, my son played with him at
wow.
TCU.
Wow.
And he said, I knew this kid had something special. And so we started talking about kickoff returns and punt returns. And I had looked up kickoff returns, right? And so they had it NFC, but usually it says NFC, NFL. Well, it only said NFC, and there was only like a couple guys on there, right? AFC, there were no punt returners listed.
Really?
Interesting.
I don't know if they didn't have any or there wasn't enough to qualify. And then, we were talking about it and his ability to return punts. Like kickoffs, we don't get kickoffs anymore, but punts. And he said, "Oh,
we haven't been getting many punts.
No, because they fair
there
catching,
was 0
right?
Well, I mean, plus
in the last game.
Right, the last game.
I think
we
he had
0 punts.
I think he has 11 in 12 games punt returns. I think that's what I saw. And Rocket goes, oh, when I saw this guy, he goes, he said he's got this unique ability, not only the speed, but to read where the blocks are.
That's what he's got.
Yeah.
That's what he's got.
And
he's
goes,
not just out there running fast.
My favorite guy, right? And so, yeah, it was
and a return guy
interesting.
like Rocket, he knows exactly what it looks like.
Yeah. Because he was talking about how much they worked on returns before. He said, especially at Notre Dame. But now it's like, oh, okay, you might get a kick. Here's what's going to happen Sunday night. The 90,000 people are going to be standing, waving their towels for the opening kickoff, right? And then it's going to be a touchback. It's like just taking a balloon and popping it, right? But that's kind of what they're doing to, make sure guys are safe.
Yeah, damn it.
And by the way, the Pro Bowl voting for return specialist, Kavontae Turpin, is number 4 on the list.
Behind who?
Rashid Shaheed of the Saints is number 1. Keyshawn Nixon of the Packers is number 2. And Braxton Berrios of the Dolphins is number 3.
I bet you the first 2 guys have returns for touchdowns.
Yeah, probably. Yep. So
because that always helps out your average,
Turpin needs to take one to the house that doesn't get called back.
Right. That's the point.
That's right. Well, he won. He got on the. He was a Pro Bowler last year based on 2 returns for touchdowns in the preseason.
That was basically
it was.
That's true.
I mean, he had a good average, but he didn't take one to the house in the regular season.
So he's got 11 punt returns, 17 fair catches, 73 yards, so 6.6 a return, and then he's only had 6 kickoff returns. He's averaging 31.7 thanks to his 63-yarder.
Sunday night would be a perfect time for him to take one back to the house, just like Kelvin Martin did against the Philadelphia Eagles
1991.
in 1991 when the Cowboys won the division in Philadelphia on a cold, wintry day in December.
We had a good discussion on Philadelphia last night on Crosstalk. Nate Newton, and the special guest was Jeff Coat.
Oh, yeah.
And Jeff Coat, I've never seen Jeff Coat like this before. He grew up in Jersey.
Yes.
Well, I always hated Philadelphia. And I'm going, what? And he goes, yeah, I always hated them. And then I hated them worse when we had to play them. It was pretty funny.
Okay, we're out of time on this edition of Mixed Shots. And, tomorrow will be a fabulous football fight song Friday edition, the Beat Philly edition.
We'll stampede at you.
All right, see you at high noon on Friday.
Go Cowboys.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!